The opposite of old talk, right here on Synergy TV, having a conversation about our social institutions, and I want us to move to the one that I think we critique the most and the least at the same time, and that's the family. In the sense that we have conversations about families that do weird and problematic things,
But not
we've
about
never
the
had
family.
talk about the family, right?
Capital T, capital F, trademark.
Yeah,
Family.
the family. We spoke about it a little bit in our conversation about corporal punishment not too long ago. That was a couple of weeks ago. But it would be interesting to hear what are our other thoughts about the family. You mentioned earlier that obviously our family is deeply connected to our education system as a social institution. Folks can't just go to school and then come home and then everything that they're responsible to do at school suddenly disappears until the next school day. So is that our first problem, that our family units are not participating with the other social institutions the way they should?
What I would say is, and we were talking about the education system before, so I linked it by saying the education system gets a lot of blame because some families, some parents aren't doing their responsibility to work hand in hand with the education system. So you're supposed to be a concerned parent. You don't deliver your child to school and the school takes care of the rest. That's not how it works. You have your part to play and so does the education system. And for me, I've seen a lot of instances, especially in the case of primary schools, where parents really need to take the time to make time for their children and to do a lot more than they're doing now. And you can see for the parents that actually do spend time investing in their children, expressing concern, the children flourish. So you're going to have all these excellent examples of students who are doing lots of great things within our education system when the parents are getting involved and are taking part. When parents don't get involved, they don't take part, you leave it to the school, then who knows what happens, you know. It could just depend on the student, if it's a smart guy or not so smart guy, a diligent person, etc., etc.
Okay, so let me turn to the both of you all. I agree with everything that he says, but in a rapidly developing economy where parents have to work together and work more to just keep one family afloat in our current economy, can parents really afford the extra time where we are right now? I'm not saying that they shouldn't, but can they?
And
how?
And that's the hard part, right? And I think it's important to say that in order for children to flourish, their parents must be engaged. But sometimes parents, as the breadwinners of their family, especially in single-parent households, have to find a way to strike a balance between making time for their child or children, making time to flourish their education, to make sure that their family life is as encouraging as possible, and make money, because if you can't eat bread, you'll die and nobody will care about you.
What does with you on that?
Because it's serious, like part of the problem, and again, the problems are so interlocking in our society that you can see where the fault lines are. You can see where they pass through multiple groups, multiple communities, multiple institutions. But there are things that are universal throughout, and one of those things is income. Money is important. Money is a socially constructed, discrete object that is significant in the way that we view our lives and our environment.
Right, that's
so
a lot of
parents,
words there.
yeah, in other words, parents have to choose between making sure that their children are happy and making sure that their children are not hungry. And because they are also hungry, they will make sure that they can eat. So there is bread in the fridge, but they had to work overtime to do it. So their child might be suffering in school or have a difficult impression of their home life as a result of barely seeing their parents. But their parents think they're doing the right thing. And if they were to strike the balance opposite, they would have no bread and they would go hungry. And that's a hard decision to insist parents have to make. And then that means we have to go to asking how the economy could be better in
Which is a valuable question.
big, difficult to qualify ideas that the man on the street can't fathom, and the head will bust, and we will never get anywhere because they can't actually deal with that kind of information. So we go back to blaming parents for having to make a decision between the children flourishing in their education system and their children making sure that their children have enough money and have enough food in the morning to get up and go to school in the first place.
All right, Chelsea, Brandon is saying that parents have to choose between whether or not their children are happy or fed. Do you agree with any of that? Do you think that's the dichotomy that we're dealing with?
One of the dichotomies, but it's a big one.
It is. No, I agree. I know this might be a little weird, but I think that even though we say family, as the primary institution in terms of socialization, when I think about it, sometimes I wonder, okay, I think that the education system is something we should focus on before family. I know it sounds a little weird because when I think about it, would I prefer to grow up in a household where my parents had an education, value education, therefore passed their beliefs and their values on to me? I also value getting an education. I also know that hard work could lead to this, that, and the other, as opposed to having parents who slip through the cracks in the education system. They don't value it. They basically got nothing out of it by the end of their, how much years, 10, 12 years going to school. And then, therefore, they pass those values on to me. I don't care what happens to me. I know when I grow up, I could hustle and get by, buy my food, somebody paying for it for me, my boyfriend go and steal something, get some KFC.
Oh, that's we're not advocating any of that here. Real quick, I'm sorry. That's important.
No, but,
right. I'm not saying that she is. No one is.
Let's choose which one is a little
and
better.
again, when I like the problem of all these issues being so interlocking is I don't think you can deal with just one at a time. I don't think you go through it like a train, one issue at a time, and then the world gets fixed, because the further up you go, some problems will become so troublesome that in order to solve that problem, just by itself, you have to reverse. Some of those problems have to be dealt with together. Like, just talking about a child in a family, you have to talk about universal basic income alongside counselors in schools, general counseling facilities for children, children's hospitals, and improved children's health care. You have to talk about prenatal care and the kind of provisions that we make for mothers. You have to talk about maternity leave and paternity leave, one of which doesn't exist in the West. All of those things have to happen concurrently, because if one is lacking, the problem will still exist in the child. And we wouldn't have dealt with it. And then we'd have to ramp it up, and then because those others are not reaching that level, those problems will still continue to burgeon, and then like all of it has to come up at once.
Okay, and I get all that, and I agree with all that, but I'm going to ask an even more troublesome question, a question that's been bothering me for a while. What in the world are families trying, if the family, as Chelsea rightly said, is our primary source of socialization, right? The education system decidedly tries to teach young people something, regardless of what that something is. The church, the mosque, the temple, religious institutions decidedly try to teach young people and people something, regardless of what that is. What in the world is the family unit trying to teach in post-colonial Caribbean, and Trinidad and Tobago as an example? What are they trying to do? Families are simply trying to survive. They're not essentially trying to impart information. How we've dealt with the idea of families, that is.
We've gotten to the point where survival is important. And that's
so survival is the rule. That's
how problematic these problems are.
By any means necessary survival. By any means necessary.
Yeah, by any means necessary.
It may not be legitimate, but we know how to survive.
It's as little as we want to make sure that you're working a good job so you never have any economic problems. So just as large as keep up with the Joneses. Make sure you have a nice house and you have enough Christmas groceries so you can invite people you don't know, so you could never embarrass yourself and your family. Because looking bad economically is bad. It puts a stain on your family's name. And both of those things are important and come back to the way that we consider ourselves in our space. That money is important, that being able to show that you are making it
Right.
is
So you
important,
just-
even when you can't make it.
Yeah, so you just kind of humble yourself, get your 5 passes, get government work. If you can't do that, well, something have to
It's the
happen.
government work mentality, it's
Yeah.
the engineering and law over
Yo.
whether you genuinely want to
Yeah.
do theatre or psychology conversation.
Yeah.
It's about learning a trade. It's about,
Now selling bread by a bus stop.
yeah,
No offense to those folks, that's valuable, that's good money.
they're doing what they have
But
to
like-
do, but we haven't had any conversations about, is this what you want to do? Do you feel comfortable doing this? What are the problems?
Yeah, what is
going
the
on in your life?
information that the family should be providing to young people and to people in general? We have to go to a break, so I'm going to give you a chance to close this segment. What do you think that the family unit is supposed to provide for young people?
What is the family unit supposed to provide? And I'll pause for a second because I've been thinking about everything you guys saying. I disagree with so much, but we just don't have enough time.
Wow.
Yeah, we don't have enough time.
Okay.
Because some of the arguments are really valid, but they're just too simple to deal with the complex beast that is our social system and our educational
Okay.
system and our
Fair.
family system in one. The family is supposed to provide us with hardworking citizens, full stop, you know? And when I say citizens, I include persons who obey the law, try to, give to their family and to their country, and so forth. Let's say functioning adults who can now bring forth other families, and hopefully, over time, we can raise our entire country to a state of, I wouldn't say perfection, but a state where everyone can live happily together in peace. We have our own sort of remnant of a Trinidadian dream. So that's something that we should really be working towards, and that's what families try to do. The thing is, we don't have much examples for people to take from. And some people take examples from church or mosques or temples. Some people take examples from TV. Some people take examples from the drug lord. Some people take examples from whatever they can think of. And there's a lot that we can do, but we have to do it together. It's not really something that I can lay the blame at the feet of the family or at the feet of parents for.
Okay, fair enough. I feel there's a lot more to talk about as far as family is concerned. We are going to take a break though. You're watching New Talk, the opposite of Old Talk, right here on Synergy TV. We'll be back right after this.